What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Nerdwide podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Haynes, with my good friend and co-host. I don't know what your call sign would be, Chris Rivers. We got to think about that
Yeah, we do.
because I would like to be the assassin. I just think that's a cool
Yeah.
call sign, and that's what my gamer tag is on everything. Now, I mean, your Twitter is Mav, TN7. So technically, this movie's about you, in a sense, that we're reviewing tonight. So I mean,
Maybe.
oh,
I don't know.
should have thought about that
He
beforehand. I'm sure
he
there's
kind of make
quizzes somewhere.
he kind of makes some ballsy maneuvers that I don't know if I would be able to
And
make. So
I listen, I wouldn't even get in the seat, so I'm just gonna. I would not be
yeah,
behind the stick or any of these things, and I don't do heights. So
I am curious how much of that Tom Cruise. I know he wasn't rolling and stuff like that on his own, but
right.
I'm sure he was in the cockpit doing some flying.
That scares me because I think I read somewhere like a lot of those things, it's all practical. Like a lot of it's not CGI.
Right?
And knowing how much of I don't know,
Daredevil.
a daredevil that Tom Cruise is, it would not surprise me if he did, more than half of
Yeah.
some of these things because
Yeah.
but it's would the government give him a jet to say, hey, here, play with this is the biggest issue. Or did he buy himself his own,
There
who
you go.
knows?
He bought one that they were gonna take out of commission and said, "I'm
Just
flying this."
Oh, could you imagine? Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Nerdwide Podcast, episode 103. Quick housekeeping before we jump into all of our fun things to review and talk about for the episode. Don't forget to subscribe to either our YouTube or podcasting service of your choice. If you enjoy the show, make sure you leave us a thumbs up on YouTube or give us a good rating for whatever podcasting app you use. If you don't enjoy what you see or hear, make sure to leave us a comment so to know how we can fix it, how we can improve. If you got any show ideas, anything like that that can improve this show, can't fix it if we don't know if it's broken. So just let us know in the comments down below. If you want to do more, you can always go to patreon.com/nerdwide. 3 different tiers for 3 different monetary values. It's 3, 5, 10.
3510. Yeah.
Nailed it. Each tier has different things there. $3 you get the show early. $5 you get less know what to eat, read, and not eat, read,
Eat.
play,
I
or
mean,
watch. And the last one is free for all. You do whatever you want to with that one.
I I will say this. Sometimes I need help making decisions on snacks or dinner or
Mm.
whatever. So if someone does want to suggest things, I'm all in.
See, never hurts to try, ladies and gentlemen.
Long as it's not moving.
Moving. Oh God, I am not. Ugh, moving is the absolute worst. And I refuse to do any more of that. Chris, how's your week been?
Uh, Pretty good week. Yeah. Um, Work was normal.
Mm. We had a real nice week here in
Things
Tennessee,
were.
like
Yeah.
weather-wise, for the most part.
Yeah. It got up to like I think 80
Yeah, it was like
one
78,
day, and
and
then the very next day the high was 55.
yeah.
I'm
So
like, oh,
normal Tennessee. Everyone's sinuses are all junked up and messed up everywhere. I'm surprised I haven't got a scratchy throat or anything. I'm perfectly fine. Knock on this fake wood here, but still. Um, Work went too crazy. Played a lot more Hogwarts Legacy, which it's going to take a back burner here come Tuesday because of Destiny's expansion launches, and that's gonna be dangerous at times. Last year I asked off for a week because Destiny and Horizon Forbidden West came out the same exact day.
uh-huh.
This year I did not do that, and I'm kicking myself for not doing that because that's all I wanted to do was play it. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we'll see what happens because next week my appearance might be real haggity. My beard's growing out, eyes are black and bloodshot and everything. Tyler, what's going on? Oh, I've been playing Destiny. Just I can't stop. Got fired from my job for not showing up. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about some TV shows. Chris, have you watched anything this week?
Not TV wise, no.
Hmm.
I mean, I watched our show, but
Yeah. We watched been trying to catch up on America's Got Talent All Stars. I swore off America's Got Talent because I think it's rigged. I think they already know who's going to win right off the rip, and it leaves me with a scummy feeling. But this is All Stars, so it's kind of the best of the best. But I'm at the point I don't really care who wins. It's just fun to see things people from all over the world, and from like Argentina's Got Talent. like India's Got Talent, stuff like that. They have people that either won or quarterfinals, things like that. It's really cool. I'm trying to still watch a Big Bang Theory. I'm in season 5 or 6. Penny is still dating Leonard. It's the one where Raj has just met Lucy. Is that her name? Yeah. They just had their first date. Actually, they're on their first date and they're texting in a library right now. So is where I'm at. So still loving it, man. That show's still great. I really am kicking myself for not watching that one weekly, because that's right up my alley. But something we are watching weekly, Last of Us episode 6. This one is titled, I don't know what this one's title is, but it's a good one. They did put it in the article here. We're going back to tvline.com by Kimberly Roots, of course, full on spoilers for The Last of Us. So if you have not seen this episode, or if you're waiting or anything like that, skip ahead a little bit until we are out of the spoilers section. Mm-hmm. So after a brief, painful reminder of Henry's suicide, we cut to 3 months later in a solitary cabin in a snowy field. A man played by Graham Greene from Longmire returns from hunting and walks inside where his wife, who is Elaine Miles from Northern Exposure, is sitting in a chair. He puts down his bow and immediately hears a voice from behind the corner of the room, and the gun too. It's Joel, who's a menacing presence, but not so menacing that Elaine didn't make him and Ellie with some soup when she realized that they were hungry. Joel is hoping they have information on Tommy or his whereabouts, but all they can offer is advice to not travel past the river. They say we've never seen who's out there, but we've seen the bodies they leave behind. Some infected, some not. If your brother's west of the river, he is gone. I really enjoyed this because, of course, this is not something from the game, but this is a very good look at this couple, and I really enjoyed them. And I kind of wish we saw more of them, just because they were kind of a little bit of a comedic relief. But they also are like, we don't care. Take what you want. We're just out here living out in the middle of nowhere. So they were fun.
It was Graham Greene was the husband too.
Mm-hmm. He's been in a lot of things. They put Longmire on here, but he's been in a lot of shows.
Dances with Wolves.
The wife I didn't recognize from anything, but Graham Greene is very recognizable. Right after they leave, there's a moment where Joel is not okay. He needs to lean against the fence as he normalizes, and the whole thing freaks out Ellie. Are you dying? She asks, panicked but still funny, and she points out that his demise would mean I'm effed. He recovers and tells her that it was just a sudden onslaught of cold air in his lungs, which is 100% untrue, and they continue on. I was like, whatever they're doing and setting up, I like it, because he looks like he's having panic attacks, which is essentially what he's having, which I thought they were giving us a misdirect for the end of the episode, which I'll talk about once we get there. But, man, okay. That night, they camp in a cave near what Ellie has jokingly started calling the River of Death. Their previously frosty relationship continues to thaw. He gives her a sip from his flask when she asks. She asks a question in the future if they don't part ways after the Fireflies. For the record, he envisions himself possibly starting a sheep ranch. They're quiet. They do what they're told, he says. She waxes rhapsody about astronauts, which is very, very good for what happens in the second game, just for a moment. And I can't wait for that moment to happen. Then, as we've seen happen before, Ellie's fears resurface, though she tries to play it off. She says, it'll work, right? She says, the vaccine. She admits that she tried to use her blood on Sam because I wanted to save him, but to no avail. After a beat, Joel reassures her that if Marlene says the Firefly's doctors can make a cure from what Ellie has to offer, they can do it. This, of course, is pure conjecture, but it's one of the first times that Joel glosses over a hard truth in order to make Ellie feel better and safer the way that dads will do. He tells her that he'll take both watches so she can rest, but the next morning he realizes he's asleep, and she guarded him all night. He said, what can I say? Man? I'm a natural, she proudly pronounces. Wake me up next time, he grumbles. Their long walk continues. They discuss how she wants to learn to whistle and to hunt, but she makes a bad joke when they pass a dam. But the pair's progress is interrupted by a group of people on horseback who suddenly threateningly surround them. Joel gets Ellie behind him, and they both put up their hands to surrender as Joel shouts that they're just passing through. The leader has Ellie and Joel drop their weapons and separate so that a dog could sniff out cordyceps infection, literally sticking its nose in their business. The pooch clears Joel but growls as it approaches Ellie, and Joel's about to implode from worry. You can actually see it playing out on Pedro's face when the animal starts playfully licking Ellie's face, causing her to giggle. Wonderful scene here. Like, really, really, really well done. And I thought that was Troy Baker, one of the guys, but that's not him. I was even looking at the credits. I was like, oh, that looks like Troy, because everyone had their mask on. I was like, that looks like Troy Baker's eyes and hair, but I was incorrect, because obviously I don't know. As Joel tries to calm down, he says he's looking for his brother. A woman from the group rides forward and asks for a name, and pretty soon they're all, Joel and Ellie included, riding back to a gated settlement that houses what seems like a thriving and laid-back community known as Jackson. Wait, who's that bearded guy working on a construction project in the middle of the town? Tommy, Joel yells. The brothers Miller quickly approach each other, ending with a desperate hug that nearly undoes Joel. Tommy says, "The F you doing here?" But he's clearly happy to see his sibling. Joel says, "I came here to save you," as they laugh and embrace some more. Man, that was very touching. And just seeing Gabriel Luna again, and I love that actor. And to see how, like, when he said, "I'm here to save you," and clearly Tommy has been doing great for himself. And we find out why he was on the radio in a little bit. But it's very cool seeing the town of Jackson and seeing some familiar faces and some familiar locations from the second game in Jackson. So it was really, really cool to see it. And I thought they did a great job with it. While Ellie and Joel inhale a meal, she peppers Tommy and the woman who questioned them, whose name is Maria, who's played by Rutna Wesley from True Blood, about why they nearly killed him, and why there are more than a few bodies littered in the grounds outside the compound. Tommy dismisses it as all bark to keep them safe, even if that's not how those outside the walls perceive them. He says a bad reputation doesn't mean you're bad. And he adds, and Joel, author of I Do Bad Things Because These Are Bad Times, looks slightly taken aback. We soon learn that Tommy and Maria are married, news that both surprises and discomforts Joel. So during this little scene where they're there in the bar, they zoom in at a teenager hiding behind a pole in that little common area, which is it's been confirmed to be the Ellie's love interest in the second game. I forget her name now, but it'll come back to me. But it was really, really, really subtle and really, really, really well done. I thought they did a great job with that. Outside, Maria and Tommy show off their little piece of post-apocalyptic heaven. Jackson has a school, a multi-faith house of worship, sewage and water systems, and electricity, which they draw from the dam. The 300 residents share everything, including animals and greenhouses. Joel says, communism. Maria easily agrees that they live in a commune, and yeah, they're communists. And then she ferries Ellie away so the brothers can talk. The Miller men go to the bar, which is empty, and catch up. Joel lets Tommy believe that Tess is still alive, saying that she's fine when is asked. He lies that Ellie is the daughter of some Firefly mucky muck. Tom says that the base that they're looking for is at the University of Eastern Colorado, but the trip between there and Jackson is incredibly dangerous, so Joel asks him to come along, and Tommy says no. Aware that the subtext is rapidly becoming the text, Joel leaps into what's really going on. He said, "Those things I did, Tommy, those things you judge me for, I did those things to keep us alive." Tommy acknowledges that he took part in the violence in order to survive as well. He says, "We murdered people, flat out, but now he thinks there were other ways." And in the fact that Maria is a few months pregnant and Tommy doesn't want to put himself in a situation that might cause him or be killed, Joel feels abandoned and lashes out. When Tommy says he feels like he'll be a good dad, his older brother mutters a nasty, "I guess we'll find out." They argue a little bit more. It gets ugly. He says, "Just because life stopped for you doesn't mean it has to stop for me," Tommy says at one point. Eventually, Joel says he and Ellie will leave in the morning, and he just takes off. That was, again, a very good scene. Pedro Pascal has been wonderful this whole show. And to see these moments and these actors really bickering like brothers do and dealing with their PTSD and dealing with the trauma that they've had in these past 20 years and all come to a head. And Tommy's got a great life going for him. And all he wants is Joel to say, "Okay, yeah, you're right. You stay here. I'll come back, But he's very bitter about it. And that's because they've lived two different lives in the past 20 years. So,
yeah.
Right outside the bar, Joel thinks he sees Sarah. It's obviously not her, just a girl who is reminiscent of her from behind. And he has another episode that has him grabbing his chest and leaning on a pole, which he tries to breathe, which has become a meme on Twitter. I don't know if it's gone elsewhere in the world, but on Twitter, a lot of people are putting funny things on there. because it's just the 3 pictures. It's really funny. Tommy later finds Joel at the shoemaker's workshop and gives him a pair of new boots as he apologizes for what he said. I know you're happy for me, the younger Miller says, but Joel's already spinning at quite a clip. Tommy's, okay, well, there's a lot of, personalization in here. He confesses the truth about Ellie as well as Tessa's true fate. It was her dying wish, he says. What the hell was I supposed to do? As he talks, all of his big feelings about Ellie's having to save him from the ambush kid in Kansas City come to the fore. 5 years ago, I would have destroyed him, but she had to shoot him to save me, 14 years old, because I was too slow and too effing deaf to hear him coming. Joel is having a hard time, and accordingly, Pedro Pascal is killing both it and me, is what the author writes. He's near in tears as he admits that the fear he's been coming up to out of nowhere, my heart feels like it's going to stop. Also, he's having nightmares, which I lost something. I'm failing in my sleep. That's all I do. It's all I've ever done is fail her again and again. And because of that, Joel is certain that he's going to get Ellie killed. He says, I have to leave her. Asking Tommy to accompany the girl to the facility. It's the last thing I'll ever ask you. Though conflicted, Tommy does agree to this. All right, let's go back to what we're doing with Ellie, which I thought, again, was a very good part of the episode as well. Meanwhile, after a shower, Maria cuts Ellie's hair and the women have an info exchange of their own. Maria was an assistant district attorney in Omaha and her son Kevin was 3 when he died soon after Outbreak Day. Ellie sees a memorial in the house for Sarah and assumes that she's Maria's kid as well. But Maria corrects her that Sarah was Joel's. Ellie says, I guess that explains him a little. Like, what a moment here. Like, because you have to remember that Joel does not tell anybody about Sarah. And her seeing this and coming to realization, and Bella Ramsey, again, great actress, you can see it on her face, the realization of, oh, this is why he is the way he is and why he treats me, why he's been treating me. Maria is still snipping away when she gets to her point. Joel's past makes him dangerous and she's worried about Ellie's welfare. Ellie, who is already so loyal to Angry Dad, points out that Tommy did the same things, but Maria waves it off as Tommy just following his brother. She says, be careful who you put your faith in. The only people who can betray us are the ones we trust. Afterward, while walking around town, Ellie overhears part of Joel and Tommy's conversation in the shoe workshop, and when he finds her back at the house they'll share for the evening, Joel quickly realizes what's transpired. I'm not her, Ellie says. He says no. He says, don't say that word. As they argue, she points out that he hasn't cornered the market on loss, but he disagrees. You have no idea what loss is, he barks. So she counters that everyone she's known has either died or left her. Everyone except for him. And because she'll be more scared with anyone other than him, she begs for him to stay the path with her. But Joel is heartsick and looking for an exit, so he reverts to the form, telling her that she is indeed not his daughter, and I sure as hell ain't your dad, and come dawn, we're going our separate ways. When he storms out and she's close to crying in that night, as Joel thinks about decorating the Christmas tree with Sarah, he cries a little too. Another 1-to-1 shot from the video game. Like 1-to-1. And very, like, the same hoodie, they were in the same outfits and saying the same things. And it was to the point because I knew this was coming up when I saw her sitting there with a diary when it opens that scene up. And I told Jamie she was not ready for it, and man, it still got me because it's such a powerful. And they were even saying, I think in the post interview thing that they do, that this was the one thing that they were going to do 1-to-1, exactly 1-to-1. They said there was no scripting, there was nothing different. This was going to be exactly the video game because it's such a pivotal moment and this is what people will remember from the game, a big part of it. And so they said we're doing this 1-for-1, which they killed it. Tommy and Ellie arrive at the stable the next morning and find Joel ready to steal a horse and leave. He's thought about things. He announces that he wants to give Ellie the choice of whom to. She says, let's go, indicating she'll continue with Joel, even if he thinks she'd be safer with Tommy. Joel hugs Tommy and gives him a gun. It makes clear that they are both welcome in Jackson, and Joel and Ellie leave. Something has eased between the two of them, and the trip to Colorado is marked by a lightness that they haven't shared so much. He teaches her how to shoot the long gun. They talk about how he wanted to be a singer when he was a kid. Eventually, they arrive at the university, which is emblazoned with the Firefly graffiti, and find it abandoned except for the test lab monkeys that are now running free on the grounds. Based on what they can glean, what's been left behind, Joel thinks the group might have camped out in Salt Lake City, but their planning is interrupted by approach of 4 armed men walking with a purpose. Ellie and Joel are almost to the horse when one of the guys attacks. Joel breaks the man's neck, but not before the man stabs him in the torso with the ragged end of a baseball bat. The injury is so sudden that Joel doesn't even realize what's going on until Ellie stares at him, stunned. Together, they manage to get to the horse, and Ellie's shooting at the remaining men in order to keep them away. Joel and Ellie put some distance between them and the school, but then Joel falls off the horse, too hurt to go on. She goes, I don't know what the F I'm doing. She goes, I don't know what I'm going to do. The episode ends as she pleads with him to wake up. Excellent. Like, absolutely excellent. So I thought they were going to, because his injury is a big thing in the video game, him getting stabbed right there by one of these random guys. And I thought they were setting up a heart attack from all these little things we were getting. So I was like, okay, they're not going to do a stabbing. They're going to do like a nice touching heart attack, and that's what's going to break it on. Nope. They did the video game thing, and I admit, that is such a well done. Like, it left us with a sense of dread I don't think we've had from an episode yet. If I'm trying to remember, maybe episode 2 or 4, but we haven't been left with a, oh shit, what's next moment, because like they're royally screwed at this point. They're on the way to Salt Lake City. Ellie clearly doesn't know all this stuff, and Joel is out of commission. We don't know if he's alive or dead. The ones that play the video game obviously know what's coming up next and what's going to be so great about it. But it left on a cliffhanger, and I don't think we've had that from the show yet.
Yeah, I love the camera work. I mean, a lot of these shots, if you don't know, if you didn't know that it was from a video game, you would guess from some of the shots that, like, there's that overhead shot when they're at the river,
Mm-hmm.
and it just looks like a video game shot. You know, it's they're doing such good work with the camera work, especially being out in the wilderness and showing us exactly like what they're going to have to traverse.
Right.
I thought, because I just caught a glimpse of him at first. I thought the guy that attacked with the baseball bat was Troy.
Mm.
And then when I got a good look, I was like, no, that's not him either.
I think so.
But
we discovered when we were talking before we started recording that it's actually 9 episodes and not 10 episodes of The Last of Us. So I think Troy is a part of a certain group that's coming up, and I'm pretty sure he'll be in episode 8, because episode 7's tonight, which is the flashback with Ellie, which I'm really excited about.
And I did get a glimpse of the cast list of this one, so I know someone that's going to be in this.
Mm-hmm.
Is,
from the game.
uh-huh.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that one next week though. But it's going to be a really good episode, because I didn't play the Left Behind, which is what episode 7 is going to be, which is the Ellie story of essentially how she got bit the first time.
Uh-huh.
And so I know what the story is, but I've never seen it. And so what I'll probably do is I'll probably go back and at some point this week and just pull it up on my phone and listen to it / watch it of the DLC to see what's 1-to-1, what's different besides it. Because I enjoy that. Like, this has almost got me wanting to buy The Last of Us Remastered, which is still $70, and just to play it, because this is so good. A lot of people, what they're doing though, it's really smart, is they're playing the game with the show. So like when the show ends, that's when they'll stop playing, and then after each episode they'll go and play more. I was like, oh, that's really smart though, a really good way to do that. But yeah, I wish I would have thought about that beforehand. But I don't have time either, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
But this was one of their strongest episodes. Like, just from commentary alone with these characters, Maria, the actress that played her, phenomenal. Like, the whole getting haircut scene was really good. Bella Ramsey, again, her face. Pedro Pascal, his emotions on his face when he's talking about things. A really good episode. This one's right up there with me, with top 3 so far.
I don't think Ellie survives at the school there if it's Tommy with her. I think it has to be Joel. Tommy wouldn't. I think he's settled down. He's lost his edge.
Yeah, he's lost that what makes it to live and to survive and to go on. Yeah. Because he's settled down. He's essentially a ranch hand now. He's a leader of the community of Jackson and of the commune, and that was such a very good thing to put in there.
He started to push back on the communist remark, and then
but from Texas.
And then his wife cuts him off and says, "Oh, that's what we are."
Yeah, I mean, and it works, and everyone, and it's because it's Christmas time. They've got a big Christmas tree in the middle, And you can see and the extras did great in this episode as well. They're all happy. Like every time you see someone, now there's not someone downcast or anything. And it was crazy is because you sent me this article earlier of how important the movie is that they show during the when they're doing the movie night. Which another thing I might add was why wasn't Maria or Tommy paying attention to where Ellie was this whole during the movie night? Because
Right.
one show's right there in the middle, but she disappears, and especially with someone being new to your community, would you not want to kind of keep an eye on her? But I digress.
Yeah.
Whatever. Well, Tommy was in the having the conversation with Joel, but Maria should have been
Yeah.
watching her or had someone watch her. But
And Maria's pregnant.
yes, really, really exciting stuff, man. I love the show. I say it every week. I know, broken record, but I think these next three episodes, the Left Behind one, I'm wary of because I don't really know what's coming. I know what's coming, but not really what's coming. But episode 8, 9, we're running and we're not going to stop running because I think I know exactly how episode 8 is going to end, and I obviously know how episode 9 is going to end. But with it taking place of the whole first game, so buckle up and strap in, everybody, because it's gonna get good.
Hello, Buttercup.
All right, let me turn that one off. All right, and I have, speaking of some Last of Us news ish, I've only got one thing here that happened to TV this week. Megan Mullally and Nick Offerman joined the final season of the Umbrella Academy. Of course, the Last of Us tie-in there was Nick Offerman.
Nick Offerman.
Yeah. I'm going to Deadline.com by Denise Petsky. Nick Offerman, Megan Mullally, and David Cross have joined the cast of the fourth and final season of Netflix's superhero drama, The Umbrella Academy. Real-life husband and wife Offerman and Mullally will play doctors Jean and Jean Thibodeau. Of course, one is Gene, the other one is Jean. A married pair of community college professors from New Mexico who are sensible, footwear, and suffer from the most extreme case of deja vu this timeline has ever seen. Cross will play Cy Grossman, an upstanding, shy business owner and family man desperate to reconnect with his estranged daughter who will stop at nothing to get her back. So, gonna be fun. I really like the Umbrella Academy. I hate that it's ending, but end on a high is what I say.
Yeah.
Releases this week, Wednesday, March 1st, The Mandalorian Season 4, I think is what it is. It starts up on Disney+.
And Pedro.
And more, I'm telling you, he's, ever since The Mandalorian, he's been killing it. There's been a TikTok trend meme going around with him and Nick Cage from one of their movies. And I'm just like, man, Pedro is just doing it all at this point. And killing
to be
it.
fair, when we reviewed a certain movie, Wonder Woman 1984, he was the lone, well, I'm not going to say the lone bright spot, but he was one of the
He was one of the good ones. Life's good, but it could be better. So that is all we have for the TV news this week. There's really nothing crazy going on. So
all right. Well, on to Moveves.
Moveves.
Moveves. Have you watched anything else? Because I have.
No, I just watched the movie we watched this week. I think, right? Yeah, that's it.
I've even got visual aids. A lot of my stuff's older that I watched. So first, I watched the Criterion release for Romeo and Juliet, 1968, starring Olivia Hussey, and yeah, it's classic.
I've probably seen it at some point in my life.
Probably in high school.
Yeah.
It made the news right around the time they announced the pre-order for this. Olivia Hussey and I always forget his name that played Romeo. Leonard Whiting have both come out and said that the scene that has a little bit of nudity was done without their full consent because well, the thing is, so it's funny because in England, which they're both British, but they filmed in Italy, and in both locations back then and now, 16 is the age of consent. Whereas here it's 18.
Yeah.
And I think they were both 16 or older when the scene was shot. It's just they were told by the director, according to them, that they would first be given bodysuits to wear,
Mm-hmm.
and then that was changed to we're going to use a little bit of makeup and camera angles to keep anything from being seen, and then it became. But what's funny is in the years since the movie came out until now, every other interview that they've done was talking about how well everything was handled on set with that, how it was necessary for the film. So I don't know why the sudden change in story, but
Probably legalities. Somewhere in the legalities happened.
or because it dropped right about the time the pre-order dropped, they were just getting some free pub for the movie.
That makes sense.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe. It's a
Any
good movie
any
though.
press is good press. So
It should be watched. It's not going to be as popular with a lot of people as the DiCaprio Danes Romeo and Juliet that was directed by Baz Luhrmann,
of
who
course.
directed the Elvis
Who did?
movie.
Yep. I was about to say I recognize that name.
Yeah. So speaking of Elvis, I also watched It Happened at the World's Fair
Hmm.
with Elvis. I didn't watch it with Elvis. He's in the movie.
Are you sure you didn't watch it with them?
Yeah,
Some say
yeah.
he's still alive.
And then I finished up the week with a film called Made for Each Other. Jimmy Stewart, Carol Lombard.
Hmm.
Uh, they get married after one day of knowing each other, and it's all about the struggles of the marriage.
Which I'm sure there are plenty.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but all good movies. I did give Made for Each Other 2.5 stars on Letterboxd because it's just there's not a lot of balancing out the story, even in the beginning, with a lot of laughter or anything. So it's
Mm.
very, yeah, but still a good movie. Um, all right. So first up, we want to have our spoiler discussion
Yes.
for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantum Mania.
And
Is the spoiler tag up?
it is officially up and live.
All right. All right. So the main thing here is that all of our main characters survive.
Yes.
We thought we had gotten a misdirect from Michael Douglas going into the movie because he did some press where he said that he would do a fourth movie as Hank Pym if they would kill the character off.
Right.
So we automatically were thinking, okay, maybe he dies in it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a misdirect. But he doesn't. He survives. Um, Obviously, Kang's involved. That's not a spoiler. That was part of
Yeah,
the
it's
prep.
all the trailers and everything.
Yeah. But we do get MODOK.
And a lot of people, a lot of people have put on, Twitter, the Ant-Man tag and everything. They're releasing all the side characters' names and movie posters for, and it still does not look that good. But
Now, so I'm glad you brought those posters up. They don't put the character names on them.
yeah, it's all they did was it was on the tweets. It said
Yeah.
introducing hashtag whatever, and I'm like, I didn't
But
even know
the
these
image,
characters had names besides the gooey dude.
yeah,
The other ones was
the,
like, I didn't know they had names.
the images themselves don't have the character name.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's counterproductive, kind of.
And this is what I was saying last week with it of why I was, not so high on it. I thought it was fine, just an okay movie. But these side characters and their struggles and things that we're going through, I just didn't care. Like they didn't do enough to make me care about these side characters.
Yeah, I feel like early in the film we see Janet
Mm-hmm.
in the quantum realm. She meets Kang, but he's not Kang yet.
Yeah. Well,
He's
he's already the conqueror,
he's
but she
he's
doesn't know
already
that.
the conqueror. Yeah, she doesn't know that, and that would have been a good point at which to introduce us to someone from this group that we meet later.
Or even
You
like a
know,
little montage of both of them conquering certain communities and stuff like that, and we see these
Right.
characters, but we don't get any of that.
No, no, we've got, and I can't remember. I looked it up at one point. Character's name that shoots the light. Um,
I'll find it for you.
he it's a cool little character,
Yes, very
but
menacing too.
but they never give you an attachment to him.
Mm,
Um, let me
IMDb.
pull this up. I already have my Maverick plot loaded, so I gotta.
Let's see. There's Gentora. Don't know who that one. Oh, she was the main chick of the Resistance. Veeb. Oh, I didn't realize that was David Dasmalchian. I did not know that. Who played Veeb? Huh.
Really?
Yeah, he's in all of James Gunn's stuff. So, Polka Dot Man.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Zolam, maybe? Nope, Zolam was a different character. Listen,
Let me.
that's what I'm saying. Like nobody knows their names.
Right.
Oh
Anyway,
man, that's rough.
anyway. Um, Catherine Newton did a really good job in this as Cassie.
Yes, as our new Cassie,
Yeah, and she's driving the. She really drives the story.
mm-hmm.
I mean, this is
Setting up the Young Avengers.
yeah. Which I wish they would just go ahead and fully acknowledge.
Yeah, give us a
Um,
timetable on that one, because every single property has a new Young Avenger in it.
let's see. We have was it humanoid?
Mm.
Humanoid maybe. I don't know. There really isn't a ton of, and we talked about this briefly before the start of the recording. There's really not a ton of spoilery
Mm-mm.
stuff here. There's stuff that's spoilery for the film, but as far as important things moving forward, there's not. Now they do defeat as much as you can in a comic book film. They defeat Kang.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, they
we don't.
even the post credits they say he's dead. So, but
Yeah,
is he really? You know?
no, he's not. We know he's not.
Yeah.
Um, so it's a very weird thing because it's basically telling an Ant-Man story to kind of build, like you said, we got some more setup for a Young Avengers team if they want it, which we think that's what they're working towards.
Right.
Um, the groundwork is there for this phase of the MCU because we have Kang, who's officially been in it. And I feel like those were the two things that they really wanted to do with the movie. And in the meantime, they told a little self-contained Ant-Man story.
Which I don't think we'll ever do anything with the quantum realm ever again. Like I think that's it. That's what a lot of people are saying online. I was reading some people's reviews and stuff like that after last week's episode, and people are saying like we've heard for several movies now, might as well be four because of Avengers: Infinity War and Endgame about the quantum realm, and we've got this is a story that they told and we're done with it. Like the quantum realm's not going to be used anymore, and I'm like, I mean, as far as I can see, that's right. I mean, at least for another, unless we get another Ant-Man movie down the line, this is. I don't see where we use the quantum realm ever again, or these characters. So
I don't know. I could see Kang utilizing the quantum realm in some way
mm-hmm.
in the future. Maybe the Fantastic Four.
Oh, that'd be a good one. Fantastic
You
Four
know,
somehow get introduced with that.
they
Mm.
could still utilize it there. But that's the thing. The characters that they set up, I don't know that there's anybody there that you look at and go, they're going to be a valuable part of the MCU in
Right,
this phase. It's just they were there for a little story to be told, and now they're done.
right.
Um, could I see them bringing them back for a number of them to come in and reinforce a group and help provide, you know, their expertise in battle, maybe.
Right.
But I don't know that it's going to be a big thing. I think if we see them again, those characters at all, maybe in a Disney Plus show. But
Yeah.
where do we get them? Yeah,
What
Disney
if
Plus.
maybe? What
Yeah,
if Kane
they,
conquered the quantum realm or something like that?
yeah,
I mean, it was. I feel like the whole movie was just setting up Kang as our next big bad. Was all it
yeah,
was, and with the first post-credit scene where it's the Council of Kangs coming together, which were a bunch of fun ones. And of
yeah.
course, it zooms into the Colosseum, and we see He Who Remains from Loki, which was great. And then we got I think our best post credit in a long time with Owen Wilson and Loki
Uh-huh.
investigating another Kang. And I thought it was very well done because he was a magician or an electrician or something like that. And he said, "This is the one that this is the one that reset everything. He's the big bad guy. Wow, you know."
Yeah,
But I think that was very good because we haven't had something like that where it shows, oh, this is what's coming out next, and it's how it's connecting
yeah.
in a hot minute.
It,
So,
it's been a while, yeah.
which is
Because they
crazy to me.
once Endgame was done, they struggled
Yeah, Phase 4 was not the best.
to keep the narrative rolling and um so yeah, to have a scene like that at the end of the credits where it's like, okay, yeah, we're really hyping you up
Mm-hmm.
for something. Um, that was fun. Uh, and maybe, who knows? Loki sees the quantum realm again
Oh, that's a good point too.
because, I mean,
Because
as you said, he who remains was there,
yeah,
and we know he's probably a little upset with
mm-hmm. Them
Loki.
splitting the timelines. Well,
Yeah,
and it's something too with I wonder, oh, because who the big bad guy of Loki is going to be? Is it going to be Kang? And we're continuing that story through Loki season 2 of hey, because that's what they're kind of setting up with this post credit scene of we're still trying to chase down He Who Remains, and they found a variant of him. So I'm curious if that's gonna be the big point of it, or well, actually, I'm sure it's Loki trying to get his timeline back after he calls out the splits, which we did see in this movie of all the
yeah,
timeline splitting off and everything like that. So I thought it was really cool.
yeah. I'm kind of curious if they'll take some of the more high profile or what they're going to make high profile variants of King
Mm-hmm.
and drop him into some of these shows and movies, and it's like
And keep
our
building him
heroes.
up,
Yeah,
which would
keep
be awesome.
keep disposing of those variants, and then they're just working their way back towards
Well, because that'd be
King.
crazy, because you would have each hero dealing with a certain variant of a struggle and things like that. But it's not, it's they're all hard, individually, but together you have the Council of Kings. It's going to be even more harder and more sinister than the one that
Yep.
they fought. Oh, that'd be really good. That's really smart, actually. I can see people be like, "Oh, we're just getting another variant of Kang. It's kind of boring." But the Kang dynasty, is the next two Avenger movies. So that'd be really good. I'm sitting here trying to think of what I was thinking of before, but the man, it was okay, just an okay movie. It's my thoughts really hadn't changed on it a week later, but
Right.
trying to think if there's anything big we've missed for this one. Nope, just Ant Man's book comes out September here in the real world. If you want to buy it from Scott Lang.
Mm. And
So,
we should say that the Council of Kings front and center was Ramatut.
mm-hmm.
So he's had a lot of interaction with the Fantastic. In fact, of course, well, I'm not going to mention that because I don't know which direction they're going, which direction Marvel's going, and there's a
Right,
huge spoiler that they haven't talked about in the films of who Kang really is.
right. One of his
So
variants.
if you know the comics, you know the story,
Mm-hmm.
and
But
we'll leave it
just
at that.
don't know
This
which
is
way they're going to adapt it to.
right. Yeah, I don't think we missed any other big plot points. I mean, all the heroes survive. Um,
Which they almost misdirected us right there at the end with Hope and Ant Man staying in the
yeah,
quantum realm forever. Which again, why can't you just make yourself big and come out of it all?
right.
So anyways, that plot hole in my eyes.
Unless maybe would that do something to the quantum realm
I don't think so. I'd just be getting bigger to come out of it.
that would harm everybody there?
Who cares? They're all unforgettable, anyways.
We're not going to remember these people.
Right.
All
Oh
right,
man.
our main movie review for the week and a Best Picture nominee at this year's Oscars, Top Gun Maverick. Now, this was
Mm.
my first viewing. This was your second.
Second.
So I'm going to run the plot down based on what's on Wikipedia, and then we'll talk about it. Um, More than 30 years after graduating from Top Gun, United States Navy Captain Pete Maverick Mitchell is a test pilot. Despite many achievements, repeated insubordination has kept him from flag rank. His friend and former Top Gun rival, Admiral Tom Iceman Kazansky, now commander of the Pacific Fleet, often protects Maverick. Rear Admiral Chester Hammers Kane plans to cancel Maverick's hypersonic Dark Star scramjet program in
That was
favor
so
of
cool.
yeah, in favor of funding drones. To save the program, Maverick unilaterally changes the target speed for that day's test from Mach 9 to the final contract specification of Mach 10. However, the prototype is destroyed when he cannot resist pushing beyond Mach 10. Iceman again saves Maverick's career by assigning him to the Top Gun school at NAS North Island for his next assignment, but Kane tells Maverick that the era of crewed fighter aircraft will soon be over. The Navy has been tasked with destroying an unsanctioned uranium enrichment plant located in an underground bunker at the end of a canyon before it becomes operational. It's defended by surface to air missiles, GPS jammers, and fifth generation fighters, Su 57s, as well as older F 14 Tomcats. Maverick devises a plan employing two pairs of FA 18EF Super Hornets armed with laser guided bombs, but instead of participating in the strike, he's to train an elite group of Top Gun graduates assembled by Air Boss Vice Admiral Bose Cyclone Simpson, played by John Hamm. Maverick dogfights his skeptical students and prevails in every contest, winning their respect. Lieutenants Jake Hangman Saracen and Bradley Rooster Bradshaw, son of Maverick's dead best friend, and Rio Nick Goose Bradshaw, clash. Rooster dislikes Hangman's cavalier attitude, while Hangman criticizes Rooster's cautious flying. Maverick reunites with former girlfriend Penny Benjamin, to whom he reveals he promised Rooster's dying mother that Rooster would not become a pilot. Rooster, unaware of the promise, angrily resents Maverick for dropping his Naval Academy application, impeding his military career, and blames him for his father's death. Maverick is reluctant to further interfere with Rooster's career, but the alternative is to send him on the extremely dangerous mission. He tells his doubts to Iceman, who has terminal throat cancer. Iceman advises it's time to let go, and reassures them both the Navy and Rooster need Maverick. After Iceman dies, Cyclone removes Maverick as instructor, following a training incident in which an FA-18F is lost. Cyclone relaxes the mission parameters so they're easier to execute, but make escape much more difficult. During Cyclone's announcement, Maverick makes an unauthorized flight through the course with his
So
preferred
badass, man.
proving that it can be done. Cyclone reluctantly appoints Maverick as team leader. Maverick flies the lead FA-18E, accompanied by Buddy Lazing FA-18F, flown by Lieutenant Natasha Phoenix Trace and WSO Lieutenant Robert Bob Floyd. Rooster leads the second strike pair, which includes Lieutenant Ruben Payback Fitch and WSO Lieutenant Mickey Fanboy Garcia. The four jets launch from an aircraft carrier, and Tomahawk cruise missiles destroy the nearby air base as they approach. The teams destroy the plant, But the Sams open fire during their escape. As anticipated, Rooster runs out of countermeasures and Maverick sacrifices his plane to protect him. Believing Maverick to be dead, the others are ordered back to the carrier, but Rooster returns to find Maverick ejected and being targeted by an Mi-24 attack helicopter. After destroying the gunship, Rooster's shot down by a SAM and ejects. The two rendezvous and steal an F-14 from the damaged airbase. Maverick and Rooster destroy two intercepting Su-57s, but a third attacks as they run out of ammunition and countermeasures. Hangman arrives in time to shoot it down, and the planes return safely. Later, Rooster helps Maverick work on his P-51 Mustang. Rooster looks at a photo of their mission's success, pinned alongside a photo of his late father and a young Maverick, as Penny and Maverick fly off in the P-51.
It's a great movie. Like, even watching it the second time, I was like, this is such an awesome movie.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's up for best picture, it's going to be hard with, I mean, as far as our rankings go with it, this one's up there. Just because of how well, like, a lot of these moments are, especially the emotional moments. Seeing the old plane back from the first Top Gun when they were at the enemy base and they had to get out, and the quips going between the two about how old the instruments were and things like that was really well done. Like, the emotion was all there. Rooster and Maverick didn't really confront each other until like the middle of the movie, and that tension was there, and it was really cool to know what we know about Top Gun and to see Rooster acting the way he is. The bar scenes at the very beginning of the movie where what's that? Oh, I forgot what the rule was. If you forgot your wallet or something like that, you had to pay for the whole. No.
Yeah, it was. There were three of them. It was if you put your cell phone on the bar.
Yep. If you disrespect the bartender.
And then I think the other was your wallet.
Yeah, something about your wallet. And he eventually has to pay for, Maverick has to pay for the whole bar and then gets thrown out of said bar at the very beginning too. I mean, I gave this one 4 stars the first time I watched it. The second time I wanted to give it 4.5 stars, but I'm going to stay true to what I put just because of how great this movie was. I love them bringing Val Kilmer back into it. It was really good to see him back. John Hamm, I hated his character at first, but he's your typical admiral, that we stick to these rules and no ifs, ands, buts about it. This movie is essentially a Star Wars story, if you think about it, blowing up the Death Star. But it is what it is. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was really. I gave it 4.5 stars out of 5. So I do have some trivia. Normally we don't do trivia about the films, but there are some things here that I found very, very interesting. A lot of people know Tom Cruise does his own stunts, so that's what got me to even look. They do note, at the insistence of Tom Cruise, minimal green screen and CGI aerial shots exist in the film, and even the close-up cockpit shots were taken during real in-flight sequences. This meant much of the cast had to undergo extensive G-force training sessions to withstand the physical demands of G-force pressures during flights.
They better paid them really well for that.
They all got to choose their own call signs.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Miles Teller chose Rooster because it was close to Goose.
Yep. Okay. I don't even know why I didn't think about attaching that.
According to Miles Teller, 3 of the 6 new actors threw up every day of filming in the jets.
Yes, I would have as well.
The actors playing the pilots not only had to film themselves turning the camera on and off, they also had to touch up their own makeup, adjust their lighting, and handle their own sound.
Wow.
Sometimes the director had to wait on the ground for hours for the actors to return with the footage. Adjustments would be made after viewing the footage, and the actors would have to go back up for another take.
Could you imagine that? That's horrible. They need to win just on difficulty alone. Let's be honest here. They need to win all this best picture for difficulty alone.
So it also knows Tom Cruise personally designed a 3-month aviation training course for the new actors to become ready to handle riding in an F-18.
Well, because, he's done it. So if anyone knows, he does.
After extensive flight training, and on-the-ground preparation, actors joined professional pilots to hit the skies for 90 minutes at a time, a few times per day, and had to hit their marks, check lighting and makeup, remember their eye lines, and turn on the camera themselves while airborne. This meant Claudio Miranda, who relied on the sun as his primary light source, prepped each day by studying flight paths and weather patterns in order to set camera exposures before liftoff. With no live film feed to track on the ground, it made for some nervous waiting periods for Miranda. Um, he notes it got really nerve-wracking because it's really hard to predict. I had to set one exposure basically because we're not auto-exposing the cameras and they're really specific. So I'd have to look 50 miles ahead where they're going and know the terrain, how deep they're going to go, and then set the exposure and hope on the way over there the weather doesn't change.
Huh. Well, I mean, that's nuts to even think about. That is unheard of.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
Miles Teller really did learn how to play Great Balls of Fire on the piano.
also a really good scene.
Yeah. I John Hamm accepted his role without even reading the script. Um, there's there's some really interesting stuff about the filming of the movie and um, how they filmed everything and got all that done. It's phenomenal. Check out IMDb's trivia section. There's still a lot of really good trivia there.
I'm gonna have to do that because that's. And I was looking to see if so visual effects they got for they're nominated for visual effects, writing. What was one other thing I had up here? Cause I'm trying to see what else. Like, I was hoping for like cinematography or whatever, but film editing is the other one. So I'm like, because that's all crazy that you would have to do that to get it. Man, Tom Cruise, kudos to that guy. He knows what he's doing, and he keeps the people around him that know what they're doing too. Jeez. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Really, really cool. So there's that. All right. So next week we are going to be. I gave my score right.
Yes.
4.5 stars.
4.5.
Next week we are going to be double dipping. We've got 2 movies left that we can watch via streaming. Because for some reason the Fablemans has still not made it to streaming yet.
Yeah.
Steven Spielberg, what are you doing?
Yeah. Because that's one we really want to watch.
And it's weird because I think it's out on disc already.
That sounds about right.
But we're going to watch Triangle of Sadness and Tar. So that'll just leave us, I think, with Fablemans and Avatar.
And there's the other one, the All Girls Talk, something like that. That's gonna bother me now.
Women Talking.
Women Talking. So
Yeah. So those will be the 3 that we did not make it to. Watch one of those win.
hopefully they don't win.
We've seen some good ones though, and what we'll do is probably next week once we review these 2, I guess we'll give our pick of what we think will win at that point. So notable news in film: Venom 3 is officially in pre-production per Tom Hardy.
Yes.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
I can't wait.
2 was better than I thought it would be going in.
Mm-hmm. That means 3 is going to be excellent.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Next up from vulture.com, and let me see the byline here. Chris Lee, a Vulture senior reporter who covers Hollywood. He put that in there himself. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, that's good for you, I guess.
The title of the article is a quote, "Honestly, I equate it to human greed." Over President's Day weekend, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania stung with unexpected venom at the box office. I see what he did there. Surpassing financial expectations to arrive as 2023's first blockbuster movie, the superhero threequel pulled in $120 million in North America, a franchise high, and 37% improvement on the opening tally for 2018's Ant-Man and the Wasp, grossing $241.3 million worldwide to become the third most lucrative title behind Black Panther and 2016's Deadpool to drop during the 3-day late February release frame. Arguably more shocking, though, the $200 million Paul Rudd Evangeline Lilly two-hander, which also stars Jonathan Majors as subatomic megalomaniac Kang the Conqueror, managed to put all those butts in seats despite emerging from a hive of some of the most negative buzz ever generated by a Marvel Studios property. Quantumania now stands as one of just two titles in the 31-movie MCU canon to rank rotten on the tomato meter, the other's 2021's Eternals. The film also earned a rare B cinema score from audiences. Bs generally are shaky, CinemaScore's founder has explained. Although many reviews fault Quantumania for omitting the low-key breeziness that distinguished the first two Ant-Man installments, critics hauled out their heaviest brickbats to lay into the movie's CGI and visual effects.
I'm one of them.
The UK's Observer derided Quantumania as an incoherent effects dump of a movie, and a Los Angeles Times review, Justin Chang, took issue with the quantum realm's surreally designed yet gloppy-looking orange landscape. This isn't world building, he wrote. It's more like world barfing. And on Vulture, Bilge Abiri pondered whether director Peyton Reed and his creative cohort had grown bored whamming together Quantumania's elaborate but listless, psychedelic yet unoriginal visuals. Nothing seems to match. If you told me that the actors had been shot before the filmmakers decided what they would be looking at or interacting with, I'd believe you.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out critics aren't the only ones who feel the computer-generated imagery on Quantumania could have used a bit more fine-tuning. Some of the very VFX technicians and artists who created those sequences, who spoke with Vulture on condition of anonymity for fear of professional retaliation, agree that the film's CGI quality control measures were subpar. Two of the three people we interviewed admitted shortcuts were taken and said critical resources were diverted away to Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, the follow-up to 2018's $1.34 billion grossing Black Panther, which was in post-production around the same time as Quantumania. Several of the same effects houses worked on both films, creating competition for the most highly skilled visual effects workers.
They don't need to do that ever again.
No.
Ever again.
No.
You should always have your teams do one movie at a time and have the full force of the team working on it. Or else you're going to get what we saw on both movies. Period.
Yeah. Like previous criticism leveled at Marvel by effects techs tired of being I'm not going to go there. And pursuing unionization, these workers say the project was severely understaffed while facing an unrealistically short deadline to hit Ant-Man's long-established President's Day bow. The upshot, a grueling slog during which filmmakers and studio executives nitpicked and revised vast swaths of Quantumania without budgeting enough time to implement the changes, forcing VFX workers to toil as many as 80 hours a week for months. This was like, that's crunch.
Yeah, that's exactly what that is.
This was like a second wave of what happened with James Cameron on Titanic, where the compositors were basically taking naps under the desk because there wasn't enough time between shifts to go back home, then come back, one of the techs said. Now the entirety of the industry that's been touched by Marvel is permanently seared, and that's what's causing the most burnout.
Horrible. Absolutely horrible.
I was trying to look on down here and see if we want to... They do talk to some people here where it's... But I don't know if we want to go through all that. Do you want me to...
I think it's fine.
Okay.
That's the gist of it all. Like, I don't understand why they would do it that this way. Like, why would you split your teams in two? I mean, that's the point. That's the thing I had wrong with Black Panther too, was the CGI and green screen effects or blue screen effects were terrible in that ending fight, like horrible. And then this one is like Like when they're sitting, they're standing in the quantum realm, when they're doing anything when they first get there. I was like, it's just like the trailers when we watched it. I was like, that does not look good, and I was hoping they would fix that before the movie came out, but obviously did not. And here's the reason why. So, and Marvel, they're going to have to get better about that as we go forward because
Maybe
that's unacceptable.
maybe what they need to do is start balancing projects that don't need as much CGI
Right.
with ones that do, so that you can keep that without crunch. You can
Correct.
keep the
80 hours
proper.
a week is horrendous and should never be a thing. I don't care how much money you're throwing at people. Absolutely not.
Right.
And that's just disgusting. And it'd be different if it was one person saying this, but they had three different sources in this interview.
Yeah.
And no, that's unacceptable. So,
Well, and it would be different if there was one person overseeing it who volunteered, I'm going to pull 80 a week,
right.
and everybody else was still doing their 40. But for all those people to be taken away, and keep in mind, this would have been over the holidays,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or in the lead up to the holidays. So these people are 80 hours a week. They're not home with their
Oh,
families.
that just
So not
disgusts me.
not not a good look,
No.
Mr. Feige. Yeah. On to other news, Stephen Yeun has been cast in Thunderbolts in an unnamed role.
Really excited. He's
Yeah.
a great actor, and now he's going to be in the MCU. Hopefully, it's not just a throwaway role, but we'll see.
Yeah. I'm trying to think Thunderbolts who he could. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. Um, Next up from Collider and Matt Valet. Uh, Guy Ritchie says Sherlock Holmes 3 depends on Robert Downey Jr. Um, I'm going to let's see. Let me. What's going on? Why are they putting an ad on here?
Dude,
Take that
it
off.
kills me.
Yeah. I'll just rip down through the whole thing here. Writer-director Guy Ritchie is known for bringing a unique style and directorial approach to every film he's a part of. One of the projects he's most known for are the Sherlock Holmes films that he made in 2009 and 2011. Led by Robert Downey Jr., the film served as a new take on the storied and legendary detective from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and went on to have a strong box office performance, with the first film ending its theatrical run at $524 million worldwide, a number eventually beaten by its sequel with a global take of $543.4 million. The two films also starred Jude Law as Dr. John Watson and Rachel McAdams as Irene Adler. With such a profitable series, it would only make sense to make a third film. And this is a topic that's been circulating for some time now. Collider's own Stephen Weintraub had the chance to sit down and talk to Ritchie about his upcoming film, Operation Fortune, Ruse de Guerre, where the topic, I don't know, I probably
That
butchered that,
sounded good.
where the topic of a third Sherlock Holmes film came up. During the interview, Weintraub asked if a third outing will be made, or if that time has come and gone. Ritchie responded without a yes or a no on whether another film will be made, saying simply, "Well, honestly, I left this up to Robert," meaning Robert Downey Jr. So Robert wanted to be in charge of this. The ball's in his court, so he's in charge of the script, he's in charge of the whole thing. I've moonwalked out of that until there's a time for me to get involved.
Mm.
So,
Not
what do
out of
we
the
know about
picture.
not out? We know he's got time because he's no longer with Marvel. So,
Right. He's producing a bunch of things though, like what's a Sweet Tooth on Netflix? Him and his wife
yeah,
are producing.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
but there's a chance. And we reviewed and have already done those on this show. So let's do
yeah.
a third one.
I would love to see. What if he said, "Nah, I'm not coming back, but let's do something bigger with Henry Cavill,
Oh, just
Sherlock."
bring him back. Yeah. Just say no more. Yeah, all I had to say was Henry. I'm good.
All right, releases this week. Creed 3 in cinemas,
Never.
March the
I think I've seen one Rocky movie, and apparently all these Creed movies are really good too. I know. That's I'm pretty sure it's only one I've seen, but
One of the newer ones, probably.
I don't think it was the second or third one, maybe, or four.
Okay.
I know it was one of the early ones.
Okay.
But I've heard this Creed series is just chef's kiss, and so I'm really excited about that. And Jonathan Majors, of course, the bad guy in Creed 3.
Mm-hmm.
He's also like Pedro Pascal having a great year.
Yeah.
So video games, Chris, you play anything? Play anything this week?
This week, nothing but the normal stuff. I gave up some gaming time to watch the additional movies, so
Mm.
I didn't really have a ton there. I know that next month we get the new MLB The Show.
Yes, and on Game
Or
Pass.
yeah, and we're getting also if you're on PC or Mac, I think it's on some consoles maybe. Out of the Park Baseball 24 will
Mm.
drop, um, which is very in depth. So I'm looking forward to both those.
I like it. I've been.
And
Go ahead.
I'm debating if I can get it for a good price. I might try NBA 2K.
Mm. It's if you could get it for a good price. It's I haven't really touched it lately because of Hogwarts and Destiny ramping up, but
And see, I've thought about Hogwarts. The problem is I don't have a lot of time
yeah,
to play
that
everything.
that's where I'm coming at lately. Like my gaming time has gone way down than what it normally has, and it's parts of not really being in the mindset to want to play anything, parts of not having time to play anything. It's all a bunch of who knows really.
Right.
Which all I've played this week was Hogwarts Legacy, and I'm at like 26, 27 hours in on it, which brings in the only news story I've got for video games this week was Hogwarts Legacy has sold more than 12 million copies. I'm going to Forbes by Paul Tassi for this one. First official Hogwarts Legacy numbers are in. They're even higher than you might have predicted. While AAA Harry Potter RPG has always been bound to sell well, Hogwarts Legacy is putting up absolutely tremendous numbers for Warner Brothers. It's been announced that Hogwarts Legacy has sold 12 million copies in its first 2 weeks since launch, which translates to $850 million in revenue. It's easily the biggest launch for a WB game, which previously set records for Twitch concurrent viewers and near records for Steam single-player games. It's hard to overstate just how impressive this is from a development team, Avalanche, who's mostly been making licensed Disney games for the last 2 decades, with his last project being Cars 3, but they staffed up to rise to the occasion of making Hogwarts Legacy a mega hit. For comparison's sake, Cyberpunk 2077 sold 13.7 million in its first 3 weeks after launch. In theory, Hogwarts Legacy cannot just beat that mark, but it's likely to have a much healthier tail given that Cyberpunk interest collapsed once bad word of mouth spread about the technical issues with the game. So,
Yep, I'm one of those people whose interest collapsed in
yeah,
Cyberpunk.
yes. They also go say last year, eventual Game of the Year winner Elden Ring sold 12 million copies, but that was in 18 days, not 2 weeks. So,
Mhm.
and it's also just announced that it sold 20 million in its first year. So, crazy to think about, and I see why, because it's a phenomenal game and a lot of fun to play. And like, you don't have to do main quest. You can do a bunch of side things, which I've been doing, just kind of kill time. Because if I don't want to do anything too time extensive, I'll just like, okay, I'm gonna hop in here and do some of these things and then hop off. Notable new releases this week: Destiny 2's expansion Lightfall drops on everything but the Switch, February 28th, which is just in 2 days. And then Wolong Fallen Dynasty for PC, PS5, Xbox Series 4, PS4, and Xbox One on March 3rd. It's also an Xbox Game Pass game if you're into the Dark Soulsy kind of stuff. It reminds me a lot of Neo, which is made by the same people. So if you're into that, that is the game to play and to download for free on Xbox Game Pass. But ladies and gentlemen, that has been this week's episode 103 of the Nerdwide podcast. Still crazy to say anything over 100, honestly. Don't forget to share on all your favorite social media platforms, and forget to rate and review on whatever podcasting service you use. Don't forget to subscribe on our YouTube channel as well. Social media, you can follow the Nerdwide account at nerd_wide. You can follow me personally at Ty_Haynes, and you can follow the Maverick at Chris at MavTN7. On Facebook, search a Nerdwide Podcast, nerdwide.com, or Nerdwide in that search bar where the first thing that pops up. Any of those ways are the way you get news. If we miss a week, anything like that, that's the where you get all of our news if you're not subscribed to any of our services. As always, this has been this week's episode of the Nerdwide Podcast. We're coming at you with a double feature for movies next week to finish off our Oscars nominees for Best Picture. So make sure you watch them and tune into our episode to see where we lie and where our predictions are going to lie for Best Picture. Next week, we're going to sit down and talk about what we're going to do for the Oscars as an episode. So make sure you're tuning into all of our socials and to next week's episode of the podcast, and we'll talk about it there. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching and listening, and we cannot wait to talk to you next week.
Later, guys.